guys, welcome to our video how to solve absolute value inequalities. In this video we're going to learn how to solve problems like this one, or like this one, or like this one. We're going to learn with these three different examples how to solve for the value of x when you have it inside an absolute value and you have an inequality. Let's start. The first step is to set it up. But here you're going to have two equations. You're going to have 2x minus 5 greater than 9 and 2x minus 5 less than negative 9. That's why we need to set them up. Look, what I just did was to grab everything that was inside the absolute value and write it down just exactly how it is, greater than 9. But in the second inequality, I actually flipped the sign and I changed the sign of this guy. So once you do this, you go ahead and just solve for both of them. So we're going to have 2x minus 5 greater than 9. Well, you pass the 5 to the other side and you get 9 plus 5, which is 14. Then you have 2x greater than 14. Well, remember, in order to solve for x, I need to divide both sides by 2. And then finally I get that x is greater than 7. This is one of my first answers. Let's do the other side. Remember, we had a positive one that I always call the good twin, and then you have a negative one which I call the bad twin. 2x minus 5 less than negative 9. Again, you just solve for x, you pass the 5 to the other side, I get negative 9 plus 5, which is going to give me negative 4. Finally, just divide by x, and I get that x is less than negative 2. Finally, with these two results, we're going to go ahead and graph them in our number line and see what we get. Oops. Okay, so they tell me that the answer could be x greater than 7. So I put a 7 here. Remember, since I have greater than, I'm not involving the 7. It's just from 7 to the infinitive, or all the numbers that are less than negative 2. I go from here to here. Bingo. So my answer is going to be, if you want it in the interval notation, remember, you go from left to right. I'm coming from the negative infinitive, which you always put in a parenthesis because you cannot catch the infinitive. Then you stop in negative 2. Since I'm not including it, I put a parenthesis, union, because remember, I don't want any number between negative 2 and 7. Again, from 7 to the infinitive. And that will be my answer. Therefore, you can choose any numbers that are in this range and any numbers that are in this range. Beautiful. Let's do the next one. Now, this is another example. Here, first you need to clean it up. What do I mean by that? You need to move this guy to the other side. I cannot do the twins, remember, the positive and the negative, until the whole thing has been cleaned up. So let's go ahead and clean it up by passing this 5 to the other side positive. So I do 6 plus 5, which is equals to 11. And now this is all cleaned up, ready to go to prom, and let's do the twins. So I'm going to have a positive and a negative. Remember, the only sign that I change is the one that is not inside the absolute value. And then I flip the sign. Beautiful. Let's solve it. Now, first, I pass the 6 to the other side. I get that x is greater or equals to 11 plus 6, which is x is greater or equals to 17. And then here, remember I had negative 11. I pass the 6 to the other side, and I get x less or equals to negative 11 plus 6, which is negative 5. Perfect. Let's go ahead and graph it again. Well, we go ahead and do our number line. I have here 17. Now remember, because it's greater than or equal, I need to include the number 17. So instead of a parenthesis, I'm going to do a bracket, and this goes all the way to the infinitive. Then I have here negative 5, and that tells me that the values are less than negative 5, and again another dot, because look, you need to include them, and bingo, I want all the numbers that go from negative infinitive, remember, the negative infinitive and infinitive is always in parentheses, comma, -5. I put a bracket because I'm including it. Union, bracket, 17 to infinitive. These guys are very easy once you understand how to graph, you know how to solve, but if not, they can be a little bit difficult. Let's do the last one. Now we have our last example. Here I have 3 times the absolute value x minus 9 plus 6 less or equals than 9. Now we need to go ahead and get rid of all of this so we can clean it up. So the first thing I do, I pass the 6 to this side, which is 9 minus 6, and that gives me 3. Now you cannot distribute this 3 because this is an absolute value. So what you do is 3 absolute value x minus 9, and then you do 9 minus 6, which is 3, and then you just divide by 3. Again, you cannot distribute that 3 because it's just an absolute value and it is protected. So finally I get x minus 9 less or equals than 1. Perfect. Let's work with that. And now I can go ahead and set it up. One exactly the same, but the other one I flip the sign, remember, and I change the sign of the number. I'm going to get that x less or equals than 10, and that is 1 plus 9, and then negative 1 plus 9, which is 8. Perfecto. Now let's go ahead and graph it. What do I get? Okay, I do my number line. One tells me x greater than or equals to 8. So I put it here. And then x less or equals than 10. So my result is only here. That means that I want all the numbers of x that are between 8 and 10. Perfect. Now that you have your solution, you know how to do this, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video, and also thanks so much for